Hi everyone, welcome back to Valley View Flower Farm. It's cold and foggy this morning, although not as cold as it has been. It's about 0 at the moment, degrees Celsius. We've been having huge frosts and snow. Today though, because of the fog, I think it's a little bit warmer. But the days, I've got to say, the days have been absolutely glorious, and this fog will burn off very soon and we'll have a nice day. So I thought, what a great opportunity to take you on a tour to show you where the patch is up to. It's the middle of winter, we've had winter solstice, so the days are getting longer, but I wanted to show you where I was up to. So if you watched the last video, you will know that the flower farm was in complete disarray. So it had sat fallow for about 2.5 months because we had other things going on. And if you grow cut flowers, you'll know that, or even if you garden, you'll know how important autumn is in establishing spring crops. So none of the beds had been changed over, nothing was mulched. I still had heaps of weeds. So I'll show you where I'm at now and what the plan is going forward. So I hope you enjoy. So as you enter the flower farm, we have a whole row this year of billy buttons. Billy buttons are very, very easy to grow from seed. Just grab an old billy button seed head off the plant, sprinkle it over compost, put it in the greenhouse in autumn. That's it. They really do come up like hairs on a cat's back, and easy to transplant. I don't fiddle with the roots too much. I just pull them out in clumps and plant them in. So that's the first row. Second row, we have a mix. I do have some Sweet William in here. I have had an appalling result with my stock seedlings, so I have some more in the greenhouse, and I hope to have this bed mostly stock, but I'm not sure whether that will occur this year. This middle bit here, we do have some steel edging. We're going to make a circular area filled with gravel, and in each corner we've got some timber posts that were milled off the property, and we're going to put up a gazebo type structure. Behind that you'll see the cattle panel. That's sweet peas are planted. I'll show you those. They've been affected a little bit by the frost. Some are okay. There's some new shoots below the hay there, and you can see Scrappy. I'm just going to go to the toilet while I'm on the video. Great, Scrappy, thanks for that. And hopefully that'll get covered in sweet peas. That's the plan. And then in summer I'm going to do other summer vines and pumpkins. We've had an ongoing issue with weeds in the pathways, and part of that is because I don't have any irrigation in the flower farm. It's all hand watering or overhead sprinklers, which is fine. The hand watering adds a significant amount of time to my day, and if you've watched any of these videos, you will know that flower farming for me is a side hustle, so I really only have weekends to do work in the flower farm, which limits me. And you know, this weekend I've got one day, I've got today, tomorrow I've got to take my daughter to a dance concert, so you know, it is difficult. So I need to, if I want to go ahead and move forward with the flower farm, and I do have plans, you know, how to best use this area, I want to make sure that I make it, you know, easy to maintain, and part of that is some drip irrigation. So I have an irrigation guy coming, and he's going to install drip irrigations to all the beds, and he's going to put some lines in case I ever want to extend down there, and also facilitate a fertigation system. So that is the plan going forward. So in this bed I have anemones. Keep the animals off your beds. Scrappy doesn't know boundaries, but anyway. So in here is my anemones, and they're only just starting to come up now. And I saved the corms or the bulbs from last year. They were plugs and replanted. So we'll see how they go. They are there and they are coming up. Some of them are still quite small. So now this bed is quite interesting. So this was my Achillea bed, and I tried a few times to keep the Achillea at bay. It's a bit of a bully, as we all know, and I couldn't, so I actually burnt. I had probably plants 3 or 4 foot tall left over, so I decided to burn them off. I'll just put in a video on what that looked like, and it's been somewhat successful. You can see that there are sections where it's coming back, and I don't think I'll ever eradicate it properly doing that. So I'm going to fork it over and remove as much as possible. Now, I do like Achillea and I have it in my garden, but this was the seed grown variety, and the stuff I have in my garden is the perennial clumping. I figure it's a bit like bamboo. You have running bamboo, running Achillea, and you have clumping bamboo and clumping Achillea. So I'm sticking with the clumping varieties, the more perennial types. The range of colours isn't as good, but it also won't overtake a whole bed. And because I have such a small patch, I can't really afford to give a whole patch, a whole part of my patch just to Achillea. So I don't know what I'm putting in there yet. It's not ready for anything. I need to dig it over. That is my job this weekend. In these beds, I have my peonies. They're all mulched, limed, and fertilised, ready for spring. I do have daffodils and lots of new daffodils from Hancock daffodils down in, I think, are they in Tassie or Victoria? But have a look at those. They have some beautiful daffodil varieties. So I've, some really interesting ones. So I only got a few of each, but I interplanted them with my peonies, and I will have a few Iceland poppies come up in there as well. More peonies in this section. So these 2 beds down here are now full of peonies. I had more peonies come from Gateforth Peony Farm in Tasmania. So they're all in the ground now. I do plant them, I know they say 1 inch or 2 below the soil surface, but I actually plant them with the eyes protruding. I'm not sure who else does that. Just to make sure that they get enough cool time on the peony plant itself to make sure that they flower. This bed just needs some mulching. I do mulch with hoo-flung dung. That is always my preferred mulch. I will mulch with lucerne. I can't get lucerne at the moment, so I'm having to pay for hoo-flung dung, but it is a great weed suppressor if you want to try that in your garden. If you've been watching for any length of time, you'll know that I'm a big fan of perennials. And you'll also know, if you watch any YouTube videos, that there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you just grow 1 or 2 things and don't grow everything. Well, I'm not a subscriber to that. I just want to grow everything and I want to try everything. And I don't know what will work best for me in my climate and with my water conditions. So I like to plant a little bit of everything and then see how it goes. Now this bed needs digging up. So all this Irrigation here needs to come out. And I have a single patch of Irrigation, and that seems to be enough to serve my purpose. So all this will come out and then I'll free up this space. This is the scabiosa, the one that forms the little brown seed head. I actually didn't plan on having that, but that just self-seeded, so I left it there. And then some perennial status in this section. So this bed is not too bad from here up, but this section here, I need to eliminate these perennials because I don't need them all, and then put something else in that section. A perennial that I do love, and like I said, trial and error, is this perennial scabious, and it hasn't stopped flowering. Now this one is from last year, so I've grown a heap more from seed, and it's quite easy to grow from seed, and they're all the little seedlings in here. So I'll have a bigger patch of this going forward, and I'll just see. It just seems to, if you deadhead, which I haven't done with these ones because I don't have use for them at the moment, but if you keep deadheading, they just keep flowering. So, you know, this patch of perennials might get extended. So I've got a bit of Speedwell Veronica in here. I'm not a great fan of it. The pink is okay. I'm not overly fussed on the white. You know, the white's over there. That's that brownish looking bush. And the bejeweled loosestrife, it's quite nice. So I have still have little patches of perennials that I keep using. So this is another example of an Achillea. This is the Walter Funk, is it? Or Walther. You know, it's a clumping variety, so, you know, happy for it to stay. It seems to be okay in this little patch and not being invasive. We'll see how that goes. So this bed I need to do something with. This is again another bed of perennials, and this has quite a few perennial campanulas, and I did a little video on perennial campanulas, so I've got some more. I've just got to finish weeding, and I've got to remulch this area and plant some more perennial campanulas in there. I quite like perennial campanulas. I think they're great for my climate. They're hardy, and they're just that beautiful blue and white flower. Being a gardener, I think my patch, I need to have some sort of aesthetics in my patch, not just flowers. I know flowers are beautiful on their own, but I also need plants that I may not necessarily harvest, but things that are beautiful, like clematis. Now I know you can use clematis in arrangements, but normally in a you know, a bouquet of flowers you don't usually include them, but I like to have them here. And these trellises my husband made, and you know, I've got some sweet peas at the bottom and underplanted with all sorts of things. There's a annual Clarkia that usually comes up here from seed, and we've got more Sweet William, and in between the Sweet Williams we have a range of liliums. I always interplant my liliums. They take up quite a bit of space in the garden, so I need to get double duty out of them. So this section, like I said, is Sweet William, and then this section here is liliums underplanted with larkspur. And I just find it hilarious. I think my first year I tried desperately to grow larkspur from seed. I think I only got a few plants, and then I didn't have to worry because it self-seeds so easily. So I just let it self-seed each year and pull it out where I don't want it. This section here, it looks a bit weedy. There's it's not, it's Solidago. This is the Romantic series. These were plugs that I bought from Ball. So I'm going to see how they fare in the second year. They are looking fine. I mean, they've been frosted fairly hard, but hopefully they come back like other Solidagos I have in the garden to be used next year, because they were really beautiful. I have a little tiny patch here, and I don't know how this will fare, of Rudbeckia, but I have more seedlings growing. So if that doesn't fare well, I'll have new plants for a bigger section of Rudbeckia next year. So one of the things I didn't get to, because it wasn't a priority, was dealing with all my chrysanthemums. This is chrysanthemums mixed with weeds. I need to chop them down and start taking cuttings. It's not really time yet for me to take cuttings. And then I need to decide how much bed space I'm going to allocate for chrysanthemums. They do come at a time of year when we get frost. So if I want to have them in the garden, then I need to probably start thinking about covering them with a frost cloth. So there's a little patch here, and then a bigger patch over there, and they haven't been cut down at all. So that's the last thing I need to do before spring. So this is a overwintered bed of feverfew. Really enjoyed feverfew. It's a lovely crop, and this is just the single daisy type. I've tried the other ones, and I think I like this one the best. Here we have the Renunculus beds. The seedlings that I get from Ball always take a few step backs before they take some steps forward. And what I mean by that is they often die back a little bit, and then they will put out new foliage. They can be a little bit hit and miss, and sometimes when you get them, they're really, really small, so they don't fare as well. So there are some patches in here. I've got a mix of, these new ones are salmon, and there's a cream, and there's a striato one. So they're in these two beds. In this section here, I don't think it's going to be a success, but this was the Morpho Delphinium, the white one that I had from Bull last year from Plugs, and I thought perhaps as a Delphinium it may come back as a perennial. Some of it has. I have mulched this bed and fertilized it, and it's looking okay, but a bit sparse. So we'll just see how that goes. If that doesn't work, I'll just pull that out and put something else in there for summer. And in the end is all my gay feather, the bulb. I can't think of its name. I'll put its name up on the screen, but they're all there, and I've grown all them from seed. They're a beautiful addition to a bouquet, and really easy to grow from seed. Scrappy's doing the rounds. These are my Renunculus corms that I saved from the plugs that I had planted last year, and these are only just coming up. I only planted them not that long ago, but they're looking great. And I've got yellow, a marshmallow pink, a striato, a red, and a purple one, and they're all from Bull seed last year. So on the other side of the entrance to the flower farm, I have another bed here that needs work on. So this is next to the billy button bed, and this bed is, well, it was Achillea that I tried to get rid of last year, and as you can see, I was completely unsuccessful. It's really, really hard to get rid of, and it does revert to this white form, which I find is the most weediest. So if you have it, I'd really consider getting the perennial type. But this is, I have some honeywort in here, which I need to pull out. And I have some bladderwort, which I like. It's a perennial. It's here, flowers beautifully. So I'll retrieve that. And I do have some carnations. I have quite a few carnations, and this will be my carnation bed. I've started cleaning this bed up, and I just need to cut these carnations back to rejuvenate them, or take some more cuttings. It's probably the better way, and pull the plants out, clean the bed up entirely, and get it all ready to go. I've got about 20, maybe a bit more carnation plants in the greenhouse that I've raised from cuttings, and some of them I've bought from Grow It Australia. So they're a company, if you haven't heard of them. They will sell little sections of seedlings from Bull. So they go to Bull, they buy the big trays of seedlings, and then they sell them in smaller sections for the home gardener. And I quite like getting a few perennials that way from them, because I don't need, I don't know, I can't remember how many perennials they'll send out Bull in a tray, but it's quite a few, like 120 or something. I don't need 120 perennials. So I like to get them from Grow It Australia, if it's, a few, and then propagate from there. So this looks like a mess, but it's not. It's a little patch of perennials that I've grown from seed, and I get the seed from Seedscape Seeds. And these are all cut flower varieties. There's quite a bit of Granny's Bonnet, which just self-seeds madly, which doesn't need to be there. But the rest I am seeing. So none of this is flowered yet. So they're all planted last autumn. So hopefully I will see what this is like. And this is why I talk about experimenting. If these plants don't work, I will dig them up and put them in my garden, or put them in the landscape. And I've got a wheelbarrow there with some Veronicastrums. I've also dug out quite a bit of Granny's Bonnets, and I also have quite a bit of, up there, coneflower that I'm going to put in my garden, in my landscape, because I still cut from them, but I don't necessarily need a whole patch of them in the flower farm. So this is what this area is. In front of that is an empty section of bed that I am going to put my straw flowers in. This section here is planted up. So this at the front here is great burnet. I use that a lot. It's a perennial and I've got it in 2 sections. And it's a great cut flower. I'll put a picture up of what that looks like, but all summer I just keep cutting and cutting and cutting, and it just keeps sending up spikes of, they're not significant flowers, they're little red flowers, funny little shaped flowers, and yeah, but it just adds something completely different to a bouquet. So these are my Canterbury bells. So these are just the blue single Canterbury bells, little seedlings. And then up the end is some more perennial types of Canterbury bells that I've grown from seed. So just a little section there, see how they go. You can't really see them amongst the mulch. Okay, so this bed here and next to my compost heap is all my bulbs. So I dug a lot of the alliums out, and it's mainly, and a lot of the daffodils, and I put the daffodils in the landscape. So this section is mainly Dutch iris, and I've got quite a few different varieties this year. There was a really beautiful one, was it red flame or autumn? But anyway, red Dutch iris, like a rusty red, and I just thought that's just something really beautiful. So in here, this is a little section of all different types of bulbs that I haven't tried before, and some of them were quite expensive, so I've just got this little trial patch here. But yeah, the rest is, there are some granny bonnets in here just for a bit of interest over spring, but yeah, the rest is all Dutch irises, which are a wonderful cut flower. This is another section of Renunculus, so quite a bit of Renunculus in the field this year. I don't know how many corms it would be, but it'd be, I would think, close to 2,000 Renunculus plants, if not more than that, in the field at the moment. So these are all plugs, and then a tiny little patch of Chinese forget-me-not. These are, again, Renunculus corms that I saved from last year. And then a few more Renunculus in there. I'm not sure if you recall, but in this section here, I had a massive plant. It took me 2 years to work out what it was, because I had to wait till it flowered, but it was a giant scabious. So, and it was giant in every way, shape and form. The flower spikes were massive, the plant was massive. So I've dug that out now, and I'll put that in the landscape. And in this patch, this section here is my Delphinium patch, but I do have Crown of Snow in there, which is a campanula. It's a perennial, so I just let that go. So you can see my Delphinium this year, this is the 3rd year for my Delphinium, and it's looking really quite patchy, and that's pretty normal. They're a short-lived perennial. So what I should be doing is taking root cuttings, which is what I normally do. I usually cut them down, and then where I find a section like some new growth, I can dig down and take a root cutting, and they propagate quite easily, and then I can plug the holes in. I also have some Delphinium plugs coming from Growers Australia in a few different colours, so I will fill in the gaps with those. And then there's some more Delphinium here. And then I'm going to extend the Delphiniums up to the end. Up the end there is Thistle. So this is the giant scabious here that I've dug out, and these are all Granny's bonnets that I'm going to put in the garden. and they can self-seed happily under some of my deciduous trees. So this is a just a blank spot here. So this is down the other side of the sweet pea arch. I have another obelisk here with a rose and a clematis and a few sweet peas down the bottom. In this section, it is another perennial section of liliums. Liliums are really, really good in that early summer period when there aren't a lot of other things flowering. And these are just the Asiatics. And, you know, they're your stock standard colours. I think I've got orange and yellow and pink and red. Nothing special in here, but I have bought some of the more double pollenless varieties, and I hope to establish some of those as well, and so just for a bit of variety. And interplanted with my liliums, we've got Honesty, and just starting to come up now. I just sprinkled a whole heap of larkspur in there and let them do their own thing. I'm a big one for intercropping. I probably failed to mention in my belly buttons, I also have Nigella coming up in between the belly buttons. And these are snaps. So I've got 3 different varieties of snapdragons. Sorry, my dog is chasing birds. Little finches. 3 different varieties of snapdragons. I've got a winter white, pink, a light pink, and then a darker pink. And these are all the 1-2 snaps. So they will flower in early spring because I can't grow snapdragons here. I did grow some really, really beautiful Potomac snaps in my first season, and they were glorious, but they were full of caterpillars, and I just cannot manage the caterpillars. I don't like to spray them, and even with organic, like with BT and stuff, it's too labor intensive as well. So I just think it's smarter to grow early snaps and then don't worry about snaps for summer. So these snapdragons here, and I've got another patch, these are interplanted with corncockle. So corncockle, is it agrostemma, is a great one for self-seeding. So you can pretty much just sprinkle those little seeds in with your snaps and they'll come up around the same time. They flower around the same time. And the best thing about growing, interplanting agrostemma with your snapdragons is they need the netting and the support. So they're both there to support each other. And I don't really want a whole bed of corncockles. And I don't really use them that much in arrangements. I do like them. I like the look of them. And because I'm hoping to have people here in spring to have a U-pick, I think they might appreciate the corncockle flowers. There's a really pretty white one and a pearl which has a pinkish blush. I'll put a picture up. So they're the 2 that I've interplanted in this section. This bed is a disgrace. These are my chrysanthemums and weeds. This is my chrysanthemum weed bed. So nothing done with this section yet. Like I said, it's not a priority. I don't need to be taking cuttings quite yet of my chrysanthemums. So I've just left this. It won't take me long to get the hedge trimmer out and just trim it all up and then weed it, take cuttings and then pull the plants out and then plan for next year, or next season I should say. Another big chrysanthemum here. You can see how they're coming up there at the base. Not quite big enough yet for cuttings. So that's why I'm not overly worried. They do look messy and they won't be here in spring. It'll be all lovely in spring, but for the moment these aren't a top priority. This whole bed, haven't done too much to this bed yet. You can see I've got my bags of hoof-long dung. I need probably a couple more to cover this bed. This had all my summer flowers in it, so I just need to do a bit of a rejuvenation and pick up all the stuff in the aisles. I also have some perennial, what are they? Foxgloves. So I'll either leave them there or dig them up and move them somewhere else. And I also have some other perennials in here. I did dig some plants up there. So I just need to be careful when weeding and getting this bed ready. I don't really want bits of perennials here, there and everywhere. What I'm trying to get is beds, big large sections of beds and larger sections of perennials, and that's why I'm constantly trialing things, and I'm looking at different things and looking at, you know, intercropping and getting the most out of my space. So I want to say this is Echinops, but I think that's the wrong. Is Echinops the globe thistle? Irigium. So this is Irigium. So I had another patch of Irigium, and I think I called it Echinops. Sorry about that. This can be a little bit of a bully in the garden as well. So I'm going to extend it all the way down to here, and this section will just be for Irigium, because I do use that a lot in wreath making and for dried flowers, and also in fresh bouquets. So this little section here, this is Echinops. So this is Echinops, that's Irigium. So, or is it the other way around? Now I'm confused. Anyway, globe thistle here, and I have a lot more seedlings. So I'll extend this patch. In there we have got the Orlea. I don't know if you can hear my neighbour's dogs, but they must be doing some sheep work. And I find when it's foggy like this, the noise carries, I think that's what they call the inversion layer, is it? When the noise carries more because it's foggy. Yeah, so this is Orlea, and I have, that's just reseeded, and a bit of Boplurum. And then we have the is it called Chinese status? It's the big airy status. These were from Growwood Australia. These were plugs. Really, really nice. So there's two varieties. There's a pink and a white and a blue variety there. And I've just have a space here for some Gadisha, and I've just just sprinkled that in because I didn't have time to raise that in seedling trays. And we have some more snapdragons and interplanted with some corncockle. So the landscape sections of the garden, I haven't really touched them. You can see I've had a cow who's decided to help herself to my roses and prune them up. We have to run an electric fence now along here to keep her at bay. She was a bottle-fed calf, and now a 10-year-old cow, and is a bit hard to keep off the garden, but we still love her. These are all my dahlias. I have cleaned some of them up, and Bessie the cow has cleaned some of them up. Haven't sort of finished this section. I need to do some weeding and some remulching. I need to get my hands on some more mulch. I'm still waiting for mulch. We get it from a local guy, and he's very, very good to us, and just gives me all the bottom bales of lucerne that are, not suitable as stock feed, and I use them as garden mulch. But I just sort of have to be patient with that. I don't want to rush him too much. So this is the patch, and this is where we're at. It always looks messy in winter because you don't have the beautiful flowers to disguise everything. But it's going okay. We did have some issues. We've had some really massive frosts, and just out of interest for those watching, I'm located in the New South Wales Central West area near Oberon, and Oberon, I think the ABC just put an article out saying that Oberon and Cooma are the two coldest places in Australia. So it might get colder at times, Perisher and Jindabyne, but overall on average, Cooma and Oberon are the coldest places in Australia. So I live about 20 minutes north of Oberon. So sweet peas, they are looking rather yellow. They've been heavily frosted, but you can see down below there are green shoots, so they'll be okay. And it's not too late to still plant sweet pea seeds. So I have sweet peas in the greenhouse, and if there's spots or bits Where the sweet peas have failed, then I'll just simply replant some more. So that's it from me. A bit of an update of where we're at. I hope you enjoyed it. I have some big plans going forward in spring, and if you're interested, I can do a video about what I'm planning to do with a U-pick here on the farm, and how I'm organising things and what I'm doing to get that ready. Let me know in the comments. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I really enjoy you joining me on these tours, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. Thanks for watching. Bye.